YouTube, what is shaking and baking? It has been a minute. It's been far too long. We've been busy. Very busy. On that note, we have a bunch of stuff to build. We have a bunch of orders to do, but we're going to start off from the farthest back that I have to build and do a feature on up to current. One of which includes the Typhon GT5. Should be an absolutely stellar piece. I don't know why I never did a review on the GT4, because it's single-handedly the best single coil RTA I've ever used. So, we might try and get one of those done too. But in the meantime, boof, Tank 25. Now, part of the reason I probably haven't done a review on this yet is I don't really have things to run 25s. But my dude EL hooked me up yet again with a Snowcap parallel box. I've never used a parallel box. I typically stay far away from mechanical devices, period, just because I like using giant boxes. But this thing's super cool, 21700. So we are going to build the 25. We're going to be shooting for a 0.1. We're going to run it on here. So let's dive in. Let's take a look. So here we are, Tank 25, classic packaging, just like every other Scottua product I've ever used, which is limited to the RTAs, typically the 30s. But inside, got some goodies. My lady Kim never fails to impress, and included a Massimo tip, which is awesome. Inside our packaging, we have our 25. You stay there. Got some spares, some grubs, some O-rings, and this cool stubby little bubble. I kind of dig that, to be honest. I don't mind the profile of the 25. It's very similar to the 30, but in shorty with a bubble, probably it would look pretty tough. But we're going to leave that alone. We're going to leave it all alone. Let's put this back in here. So, just like everything else, everything comes apart, easy peasy. This top cap we're going to get off. Okay, well, this is a good example because I got a trick for this. So inside you see your little wick ports. Take a pair of ceramics, put them in the wick ports. Voila. It's been setting for a long time, so to be fair, yeah, it's been setting a long time. I think this was shipped out to me around the second week of December, and it's set in the box up until 5 minutes ago. Threading is all buttery smooth. I like the recessions for the O-rings on this, where they're not just kind of sitting up high and end up popping out all the time. Confucius would say that that comes apart like that. So you can bottom fill it if you want to. I also use, oh, that's interesting. There's only one fill port on the bottom, which makes sense. You don't need two fill ports. That functions really, really well. On my V4, this doesn't really move. It doesn't really move. So that's nice. Velocity 2-post deck. Much different than what you're used to from Scottua, but very common if you're in the Voltrope scene. Grub screws are 1.3 mil, which is the same found on anything from Steam Crave. And it's fairly straightforward. I mean, if you want to put it in shorty mode, you're going to reduce the height by removing this. Put this back on, grab your bubble, put it back together. But just like that, I mean, it's all disassembled. Really a pretty straightforward tank. Not a ton of O-rings buried all over the place. It works. It works. We're going to keep it in tall, though. And we're going to spin up some coils, and we're going to build this bad boy. Okay, so got our coils ready to go. DNA device for breaking them in. We're going to preset it down to 15 watts because this is a very small mass build. Now, on these coils, I'm going to set them just like I do on, on the 30. And I'm going to start at 6 millimeters for my legs. I do this on the 30 so that I have enough coil to raise up, and it gets rid of the wispy airflow, it gets rid of the whistle, and well, continues to run flawlessly. So this is a smaller build space. May need to go down to a 5 mil. We're gonna see. For our build, we did a 2736 and 90 core alien, 5 wrap on a 3 mil. Should be right around 0.10. You want to make sure when you're snugging your stuff up that your coil legs are nice and flush with the inside post edge. Not sticking too far out. Okay, perfect. Like how that looks. Let's go ahead and repeat. Sometimes it takes just a little convincing to get the coils to stay right where you want them to, but once it's set, you're good. I'm going to check the inside edge here. I see a little rogue wire. I don't want that. Remove any chances of fouling. Center it over the airflow. We're going right up to the top of the post, maybe even a millimeter higher. There we go. That's with 6 millimeter legs. It allows us to get that coil height right where we want it. Now for breaking. 15 watts. Measures in at a 0.06 initial. Always does. You can start at a higher wattage if you really want to. But for me, I like to really set the colors, and breaking them in at a lower wattage really helps retain that. You can see we're starting to get some bronze, goldish color coming through. Some lavenders. Okay. We're going to go up to 25 watts. We're going to remeasure. We're up to a 0.07. Still got hot spots for sure. Starting to get some color, a little glow. Okay. 0.09 tells me that we're really close. We're going to go from 25 up to 40 watts. Measure again, holding at 0.09, that's good. Jump up to 80 watts, much shorter bursts. We'll do a final check at 125. Just to make sure. Everything looks perfect though. Excellent. Okay, we're going to get a little up and close and do some wicking. Alright, got our coils all set. They're all cooled down. We're ready to wick. So we got 3 mil inner diameter. For 3 mil, I'm right around 3/16 of an inch wide. Resistance feels good. Maybe a smidge under 3/16. Always give her a little tug in the center to break up the fibers. Always make sure you have clean hands. I just washed mine. That's what we're after. Alright, so we are going to wick this just like we wick the 30. How we're going to do that is basically we're going to take our shears and we're going to set them right on the O-ring at the bottom. Just a nice horizontal cut. You know what time it is? Time to fluff it. Some people skip the fluff it game. Not really sure. It's always been a thing for me. It's always made sense. Break up the fibers that are going to carry the juice to feed the coil. Get them all nice and fluffy. And all we're going to do is put them in the little wick ports here. I usually start at the underside of the cotton, if that makes sense. Instead of grabbing the top of the cotton and trying to stuff it all in, I take it in smaller chunks. I think what we're going to do is thin this out just a little bit, only because it feels pretty snug in the wick port. And pretty snug in the wick port usually means you're not going to get a nice long pull. You're only going to be getting shorter pulls because it's going to struggle to keep up. So I'm going to save the headache. We're going to thin it ever so slightly. Check it again. It feels better. So when you're putting that cotton in the wick port, you have to keep in mind that cotton is going to expand when it gets wet. If it has no room to expand, it cannot do its job. It can do one of the two jobs, and that is keep your stuff from leaking, but it's also not going to do the job of wicking very well. So, if it feels snug or too tight, thin it out just a little bit. Let's kind of cut at an angle. So what I'm doing after I get all of the cotton in the wick port is I go underneath it slightly and just pull it up. And I'll show you when I get all this in there why. Historically, for me, with the Scottuas, is you have your wick ports down here. If your cotton is all the way down to the bottom, it's not going to wick properly. So I split the difference and I put it all the way to the bottom, and then I simply lift the cotton up so that half of the port is exposed. That can trap little bubbles in there, and it just helps keep this thing running tip-top shape. Is this how the 25 gets down? I don't know. But I've been around a minute and believe that this is probably going to be perfect. Okay, I think we're ready. We're ready to put her together, take her up top, and run this thing. So let's go. Okay, back up top. We are filled to the brim, and let's take her for a ride. I was not expecting that much airflow from a 25mm tank. Processing. Wow. Okay. Okay. That's getting it. Sitting at 100 watts. Build varies between 0.08, 0.09, and 90 usually comes up when it's warm. Wow. Okay. That feels like it has the same amount of airflow as the 30. Feels. That's really good. Okay. Let's slap it on the snow cap. Load up some batteries. Running P42s. Yep. Okay. That right there is a pretty handsome little combo. Wow. That is right there. Quite impressed. Not even gonna lie. That is phenomenal. Phenomenal for a 25 millimeter tank to have that much airflow. Vape quality is fantastic. Machining, as we already discussed, it's a Scottua. It's phenomenal. The fit and finish of this, for me, feels a little bit cleaner than the V4. Man, that is really good. Who'd have thought a 25 is thumping like this? That's getting it. 0.08, 0.09, dual para, hitting probably around 4 volts. Feels like 150, 180. Feels like. That's just as cool as a cucumber, man. That is excellent. So, Scottua 25, snow cap, para, slamming combo. Slamming combo. I can't stop. Okay. Final thoughts. Conclusion. If you dig RTAs, if you've got something you need a 25 that looks really good on, and your budget allows you to scoop the Scottua 25, you definitely need this in your life. Because I've run a handful of other 25s that were dual coil, and none of them were even in the same book as this one. Not even close. Not even close. That slaps. Okay. So, you guys know the drill. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. If you're not subbed, get subbed. It's free. Don't cost nothing. We got several more reviews to get done. Get done, post up. So, hang in there. GT5's coming quick. Peace.